Developing Tomorrow's Leaders is a podcast that is all about educating, supporting, and inspiring the next generation of leaders. Your host, Antoine Thompson, or Coach T, has over 35 years' experience of educating, supporting, inspiring, and enhancing the lives of many young men and women.
Welcome to Developing Tomorrow's Leaders. I am your host, Antoine Thompson, or Coach T. This is a podcast about talking to, working with, and sharing experiences with those that have the heart, caring, and determination to help the next generation of leaders. And my guest today is definitely one of those individuals. She's a highly experienced dissertation coach with a PhD herself. She has coached and supervised first-generation ESL and non-traditional students, both in the UK and in the United States, for more than 10 years. And many of them have achieved first-class degrees. She offers support in writing, research design, motivation, and research methods. She specializes in helping you to achieve your dissertation and career goals quickly and easier so that you can feel confident and supported moving forward. I hope you will help me welcome Dr. Jennifer Harrison, or as she likes to be known, Dr. Jen, to Developing Tomorrow's Leaders. How are you, Dr. Jen?
I'm good, thank you. Really glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And, always nice to have PhDs on. It makes me feel smart because, they always say don't be the smartest person in the room. Well, I'm definitely not the smartest person on air right now. So we really do appreciate it. So now I've talked a little bit about the bio that you shared with me, which is very impressive. But I'd love for you to share a little about you, not Dr. Jen, but Jennifer Harrison. Tell us a little bit about you so we really can get a sense of who you are as a person as well.
Sure. So let's think. What can I share? Background-wise, I'm very mixed up. So I come from a Caribbean family, but I grew up in the UK. So I fit neither one place nor the other. I was born in New York, grew up in the UK, went to school in both places. Always seemed to manage to miss whoever was teaching telling time. Whichever country I was in, they'd already taught it in the country I just left. So never really learned to tell time until I was a teenager. What else? I think I was always kind of a born teacher. Even, back when I was in primary school, I was always annoying my cousins by trying to teach them this, that, or the other. And when I finished my undergraduate degree, which I did in the UK, I had the option to go straight into a PhD and skip doing a master's. And I did that. And I taught as part of my PhD program, I was teaching the undergraduates then and realized that, yes, teaching is exactly what I want to be doing. I took a brief spell away from academia and teaching to be an admin just after I got engaged and married because I needed to be in a place where there was a job, and very quickly became bored with that. I think it lasted about 12 months and I was like, nope, got to go back to teaching. I did a teaching degree. So I taught in the UK. I taught everything from 5-year-olds way up to college level students. And it was fantastic. And then after I had my kids, we decided we were coming back to the US. My mom is here, my grandmother's here, the big family is over here. So we moved back to be close to family. And this is where we are now. I started doing what I'm doing now during the pandemic. I was working in our local state college, and the job security there wasn't great because pandemic, nobody's job security was great anywhere. But I realized that it was an opportunity for me to start a business and kind of do what I love doing off my own back. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So, what I loved about what you just shared was when people find out where they know they belong, and the thing I love about it is you're like, hey, you know what, this isn't working. You realize it early. Some people just stay in things way too long and then they become miserable.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew your purpose and where your love was and your passion. And I love the fact that you love working with kids of all ages, as do I. And I think that's really important. It speaks volumes to your personality, obviously, and how you connect with people, not just with kids as well. But yeah, I love that. I know you shared a lot, but it's always the little things that stand out to me. And that's why this podcast is so important to me is when we talk about developing tomorrow's leaders, it's about individuals like you that care about people, and care about kids. And so we definitely want to shift in because this is going to be very educational for me because I'm nowhere near a PhD, but I don't know anything about dissertations. My brother did his, he has his PhD, but he's not going to tell me about it like you're going to tell me. So why this aspect of education, the dissertation aspect angle?
It really grew out of the expertise I built up in writing. So one way or another, I've always been a writer. When I was good in school, it was writing and reading that I was good at. When I did my undergraduate, I was doing a literature undergraduate degree. And as a teacher, most of the time, what you end up teaching people is how to write, how to get their ideas onto paper, how to build a good argument. And it just fell out that way, that every job I went into, every position I filled, focused on some new element of writing until in 2020, when I was ready to start a business. I was, hunting around through my various experiences and, what am I actually good at? What can I build a business in? I was like, the thing I really have the expertise in is writing, and specifically academic writing. I know the ins and outs of it. I know it like the back of my own hand. So I actually did work with a business coach to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And he said, that seems to be the area that you are most comfortable in and most passionate about, and that you can really add value for people, that isn't just another business, trying to jump on the COVID bandwagon. Like, you actually have genuine expertise there.
Yeah. So what areas have you had the most experience with helping students with their dissertations, and what particular genres and areas of study?
So I thought I was going to be working mostly with other lit students and, humanities students. It's not fallen out that way at all. The most students that I work with are in social sciences. So I've worked with a lot of people either studying education or therapy and counseling or psychology. Those seem to be the people that reach out the most often.
Yeah.
It did surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out that way, because it's fascinating research. I love every single dissertation I end up reading.
And that was going to be my next question, is what keeps it exciting for you?
Oh, I get to see the cutting edge research. I get to see the people who are working at the very forefront. That's what a PhD is. It's a researcher's very first contribution. And because it has to be original research, they are finding that one thing that hasn't been done yet and exploring it and pushing it further and pushing boundaries. So, I get to see what's coming up in research before it ever becomes big and mainstream and hits the news and hits the papers. It's great fun.
Yeah. And what's the timetable for people working on dissertations? Does it vary, or is it kind of a cookie cutter type? Okay, well, this is the short version, long version, or does it depend on the particular subject and research that's being done?
It definitely varies a lot. It varies by subject and research project. It also varies by program type. So there are a lot of different types of graduate program out there. And then it varies by country as well. So I work with students in the US, Canada, and the UK, and they all have very different structures and programs. So I have seen people complete a postgraduate dissertation in maybe 4 months, 6 months. And I've seen other people take a couple years, 2-3 years to finish. So it really does depend.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I don't think I have the attention. No, I don't have the attention span to do that. 6 months is too long. Yeah, well, a month is too long. but
you know what? If you wanted to do it, you would have the attention span. And that's the difference.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, if it's something you really want, you'd find the time, right, and to get it done. So what is? I want to really shift, and so we could really tap into your expertise, because there are aspects, not just with dissertations, but I think with the college experience as a whole, ways for young people to get the most out of their collegiate experiences. I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. There's the social aspect, there's the academic aspect of it. And then, of course, for those that play sports, there's athletics or other extracurricular activities that may bring a student to a particular campus. But what suggestions do you have for people how they maximize that college experience?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing I'm going to say is I'm not going to dwell on the academics, because I think everyone feels pretty comfortable with that side of things. You get a lot of support on that in high school. They're always telling you, what SAT scores do you need? What program should you be studying? I think there's a lot of information and support on that already out there. But I think maybe what a lot of high school students are not given the information about, and maybe not given the preparation for, is how you can be independent and kind of learn to stand on your own feet when you get into college. And the fact that that is the point at which you can start becoming your own person and finding your own path in life. So that's kind of one side of it. Like, that's your opportunity to break away from childhood and start becoming an adult, in every aspect of becoming an adult. But then also on top of that it's still okay to be making mistakes or changing your mind. I think people tend to fall into one of two categories. They either still want to be treated like they're in high school, everybody telling them what to do and when to do it and how to do it, and this is the path you're going to follow, and they kind of follow like sheep. Or they think, I've mapped out what I want to do. I've decided I want to be a doctor. I'm going to do that no matter what, no matter how much pain it's causing me, how much misery it's causing me. That's the thing I'm going to do because I decided. And I think students need to be taught to find the middle ground where they can experiment without fear and still know that they are being their own person and finding their own way. So like one of the things probably the top piece of advice that I would give to any young person who's thinking about college is consider all the options first. Don't just go to college because it's the thing you do. Think about what you want to do in life. What's your mission in life? What really matters to you? Start thinking about those things early. And then don't just find one path forward for doing that. Look at all the different options that you can explore. What are all the different ways that you can get to where you want to get to? Because what matters isn't the degree or the classes that you took or the IQ that you got. What matters is where are you trying to go, and are you taking care of yourself and your core values as you get there?
Yeah, no, I like that. Here's what's so ironic about what you just shared. Just had a conversation yesterday with someone. She was a student at University of North Carolina, and she was talking about, we were having this conversation about classes and how she goes, one of the frustrating things was being around immature college students. And she was like, there would be kids that she'd hear them on the phone with their parents yelling at their parents, why did you sign me up for an 8:00 class? And I'm going, wow, well, yeah, who's going to school? So who should be signing up for the classes? Kind of what you're talking about, decide what you want to do. And some kids like their parents to dictate what they do until they don't like it, and then I think to your point, they've got to learn to make decisions right, wrong, or indifferent. And to your point about learning about them. But I just wanted to kind of share that because I heard that yesterday and it kind of made me think like, yeah, some kids do still act like they're in high school even when they get to college.
Yeah. And, I don't think it's the kids' fault. I think our systems are set up to make that very easy. And, parents don't get any training. I know this as a parent myself. Nobody tells you how you're supposed to parent. So, we can't look at your parents and go, oh, you should have helped me be more independent. I think really it's like there's no blame there. But as a kid these days, if you can find it in yourself to start seeking that independence, that's really worthwhile because the society is not necessarily set up to do that for you.
Hey, maybe I'll go to college and I'll write a dissertation on how to parent. Yes, 101, 201. Yeah, listen, I'm sitting here as a guy with no kids, but I have kids. I have a lot of kids, but none of my own. But so I'm on the outside looking in. So this is another reason that I love asking these questions too, is because even though I'm not a parent, I've dedicated my life to helping young people because I look at it from a different perspective. I see it from the parents' perspective. I see it from the kids' perspective, and I try to bridge that gap, if you will. And this topic of communication or lack thereof, I think is what hurts both parents and kids. And I think parents put pressure on themselves and feel like they failed their kids when in reality they haven't, because they weren't always given tools. They're only doing what they were taught. And, we're living it, this, and you tell me if I'm wrong. We're living in an era now where kids can teach adults a lot if adults would actually stop long enough to listen and learn. I know I've learned so much from the kids I work with, and I start asking them questions and they don't question it. They're excited to tell me. I'm like, hey, I'm learning from you because this is a new world. I mean, I'm grown, but you're growing in a world and the expectations are so different. So I think you doing what you're doing, especially at a high level, but also having experience working with young people, speaks volumes to your passion and love for working with kids. So truly do love that aspect. Before I move on, was there any other tips you wanted to share about how to make the most of collegiate experience? I know you said that academics are kind of covers in so many different areas, but the other part, is there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, definitely. Embrace the social, I think, is the most valuable thing. College is one of those times in your life, and there aren't that many times in your life, but college is one of them where you will form connections that will last the rest of your life. When you finish college and you are getting married or having kids or starting your first job, like there are some points, maybe when you've moved to a new town or you've just started the first big career of your life, that you will meet new people and form new friends. But those opportunities don't come around often in life. And college is one of the times where you have the most time, energy, um, free time. So all of those things that enable you to really get the most out of the social opportunities. So, join the clubs, meet the people, find out, what are the different things that your institution offers. And like, if you have the opportunity to go and study on a campus, do it. Like I'm a big fan of virtual learning. I'm a big fan of online, but I don't think that you get the most out of college if you do your whole degree from your home, your parents' home on your computer. You're missing out on a big aspect again of that independent side of things, of learning how to be in your own space and stand on your own feet and meet people and form relationships and make mistakes and bounce back from them. So if you have that opportunity to break away and go be in a new space, in a new place with new people, definitely it's worth doing, especially if you can move away from your hometown, like go somewhere completely unfamiliar and see how you thrive. You'll find out what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah, and you won't have I won't use the word you'll have reasons to either not necessarily blame but fall back in your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, you
Right.
push yourself. You find out what your limits are. And it's not that you can't go back home or reach out to friends or reach out to family if you get into difficulties, but you get to test yourself first.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I like that a lot. And I think the socialization aspect is one of the things, and one of the biggest things I think that young people face that's very challenging for them. I'm actually doing what I like to call my personal social experiment. And what that is every time I'm out and about and wherever it is, fast food, grocery store, department store, convenience store, whatever it is, if there's a young person that's at the register or anywhere in the store, I always purposely engage them for no other reason to have a conversation and to see how, if it's a great conversation, see how far it goes. If it's not a good conversation, meaning not a very positive one, can you make it a positive one? How quickly can it become an engaging and positive experience? And I would say over half the time, Dr. Jen, it's not overly positive. It's very somber, very low volume, and not very positive. It's not necessarily always negative, but it's never, hey, how are you doing today? It's like, I'm all right. Or it's always something about how much longer they have to work before they get to leave. Like, yeah, it's great to have a job, man. A lot of people don't have jobs, and here you are, you got this great job here, and they're like, I guess so, whatever. But my point being, uh, young people they are losing the ability to socialize and maximize building relationships and seeing the value in communicating with people other than reading text and emails and emojis. I mean, emojis are the new vocabulary for kids, right? And I think it's great. Again, it's a way to learn, but it also is a way to lose the social skills that make us who we are, because we're the most social animals on the planet, but yet we are becoming the least social.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why I'm such a big fan of in-person learning, because not so much that you learn better there, but you get more exposure.
Yeah, you need stimulation, right? And I mean, it's just that engagement. I'm like, if I come to go, hey, Jen, how you doing today? You're like, oh, geez, here comes Coach T, man. Get what the, but, but guess what? That's the reaction, right? And it's like, hey, this guy's crazy, but that's something that is going to happen when you see me. Now, next one is a great one because it definitely, I'm a part of this next question I'm going to ask you. Finding out if college is right for you. I have two brothers, one older, one younger. My older brother has a PhD in education. My younger brother has a master's degree in computer information systems. I did not complete college. I went for 2 years community college and a year at a 4-year institution, transferred. College wasn't for me. And for a long time, I beat myself up. I felt like a failure. I didn't finish college. My brothers did. And then later on, when I developed and built my career, it's like, oh, college wasn't right for me. That's what I did was right for me. It took me years to realize that. So I definitely want to get your feedback on ways people can figure out if college is right for them or if it's not right for them.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna pick up on something that you said there, which was that it wasn't until years later that you realized college was not right for you. I don't think you could have realized that unless you'd gone. So I think, first of all, trying to nail down before you even get there, is it right for me? Is it not? Will I make the right decision? I have to make the right decision. That's probably the wrong approach. Like everything else in life, you got to make a decision, but you won't know if it's the right one until later. So don't stress too much about whether it's the right one right now. But then I would say, again, think about what your I call it your mission. Like, what is your mission in life? Like, not your career, not your goals. Those are different things. But what do you stand for? What really, really matters to you? And what do you want to do with yourself? Not just in terms of what are you going to achieve or your performance or how much money are you going to make, but like, what do you actually want to, what do you want to be remembered for? Work those things out. Work backwards from that to maybe what types of career might be good for you, and then look at the different options. And some of those might be college, and some of those might be something completely different to college. And then you probably already know a lot about yourself from high school. Are you the kind of person who likes to read? Do you love sitting in a classroom with other people and joining in debates? Do you absolutely get filled with dread at the thought of having to write a paper with citations? Those kind of things are going to give you a clue, because college is going to be more of the same. It's going to be papers. It's going to be reading. It's going to be assignments. If you hate those things, you're going to hate them as much in college as you hated them now. Is there something that makes, is there something that makes that worth it, that you're aiming for, that you want so much that you're willing to put yourself through that? Do you love that? And so it doesn't really matter where you're going. You just want to keep having that experience. Is there something you really want, and maybe there's a better way to get to it than going through college? So I think you have to kind of explore those options for yourself before you make the decision. And then, like, just from experience, I'm going to say that my husband is one of the smartest people I know, like crazy smart. He very nearly failed all of his high school exams. He took one exam on an off chance. He had never even taken the classes. He just sat the exam and managed to scrape a good enough grade that he was college eligible. And so he went to the only college that still had space at that time, because he didn't really want to leave education, but he didn't have the grades. He didn't really love school, and he absolutely thrived in college. And he went on to get a master's. So on the other side of the coin, one of his brothers, who was doing much better in school, ended up never going to college. He went straight into multiple jobs and is now working a high-flying city job and making the big bucks. There are so many paths through life, and you never know which one is going to take you where. So I don't think the most important thing is working out whether it's right for you or not, in terms of, are you a failure if you don't go to college? Are you?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I think the most important thing is feeling comfortable and happy with the decision that you've made at the time, and being willing to pivot at the point that it stops feeling comfortable and happy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. Plus, I thought about it a little bit too. And another reason I didn't really finish too, I was like, do I really want to be the first person in America to get a master's degree in underwater basket weaving?
Yeah. Yes, why not? That sounds awesome.
Underwater. And they're like, yeah, well, what does that entail? Well, a lot of aquatics and a lot of crafting classes. Yeah, you combine those. Could you imagine writing a dissertation on how to make a waterproof wicker basket underwater?
And I feel like there'd be a lot of chemistry involved.
Yeah, there'd be a lot. Oh, that's why I didn't finish, because I hate science, and chemistry would have been a big part of it. So thank you now I do feel like I made the right decision. It's chemistry. Thank you, Dr. Jen. And this is why you are the expert. That's why you're the expert. There's a word that I talk about, and it's a tagline for my Coach T's Corner, and I actually changed it. It used to be educate, motivate, support, but I've changed it to educate, inspire, and support. And the reason being, I had a conversation with a colleague and friend, and she was saying that she felt like motivation is internal, inspiration is external. So, based on what I'm doing, I'm inspiring people to motivate themselves to success. I would love for you to share not just You don't have to, I'm not asking you to agree or disagree with me, but I'm just explaining that. But helping people find their purpose and their motivation. And I just wanted to share that as a segue into this particular question, sharing their purpose and motivation for success.
I think the best way to work out your purpose and your motivation is to expose yourself to as many different things as possible. So don't just stick to the things you know that interest you or that you agree with, but read widely, talk, like you said, talk to people who won't necessarily agree with you or who make you uncomfortable or who you'd rather avoid. Get into those conversations. Read the books that don't look like your kind of thing. Pick up the magazines in the doctor's office that are not your normal kind of thing. Like expose yourself to as many different sources of information, inspiration as possible, so that you really know if you like something or dislike something on more than just the surface level. And I think about the people in your life that you look up to. Why do you look up to them? Like that's always a good way to work out what your own core values are. And equally look at the people in your life that you really don't look up to and you think, I don't want to be like that person. Well, why not? What is it? What is that core value that pushes you to have that feeling? So I think a lot of internal questioning, a lot of external exploration.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And as you're explaining that last part is, I think it's really important too, is I think a lot of people, as they go through challenges, they always focus on carrying all the good stuff with them. And they don't realize that take that bad stuff with you because you learn something by experiencing that negative thing or aspect of, where you were in your life, because you say you don't want to repeat that. Yeah, remember that. Most people are like, yeah, I don't want to do that, forget it. Well, it may come up later and you want to be able to connect the dots and understand, because you're possibly paying something forward to somebody else as well. So I think your past does determine your future in some aspects because of what you may experience. So I think finding purpose, motivation, and I think the socialization aspect is really important. And to your point, be willing to learn something that you otherwise wouldn't think would be important to you. I mean, I know I've gotten into things that was kind of like, I never thought I'd be watching or listening to. There's certain podcasts I'll listen to, or I'll find something on YouTube and watch. The Y Files. Have you ever heard of the Y Files?
I have not.
It's a podcast. It's on YouTube. It's amazing because they talk about everything, history, science, whatever, and they're like 10, 15 minutes, but you watch the first 30 seconds to a minute and you're hooked, and you're looking for something else along those lines to find out. I'm like, wow, I guess I wanted to know more about geography that I used to, that I cared about before.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great example, but you have to be willing to expose yourself to that. And I think that's what's really important for everybody too. So, I think that the other part is that you talked about was too is having, what is your purpose in life? What do you want to achieve long term? And I think sometimes it's about working backwards. Everybody tries to work forward, and sometimes you have to kind of work backwards and understand what is it going to take to do that. And I think that's what you were alluding to as well. Correct.
Correct. And I think like you really have to think deeply about it. A lot of when I was teaching undergraduate at our state college and you would ask this question, a lot of the kids would answer, I want to be making 6 figures a year. That's not really your mission in life, because why do you want to make 6 figures a year? Like, will just seeing the numbers on your bank balance achieve something for, what is the point of those 6 figures? What are you going to do with it? Is your real goal that you want to have lots of time for something else? Is it that you want to have a big family and be able to support, what do you actually want that money for? So it's about more than just what you want to have. It's more, who do you want to be?
Can you say that again? I don't think anybody heard. I think I want to tell to the people, say it again so the people in the rafters can hear you. Say that again. I love that. Say it again.
When we talk about your mission, it's not what do you want to have, it's who do you want to be.
Amen, sister. Hallelujah. Amen. Pass the collection plate, baby. You're gonna fill it up. I love it. It's about who you want to be. I can testify to this. I left a very high-paying job before, because guess what? Money was not making me happy.
Yeah.
I did not like who I was at that moment or who I was becoming. So I was like, you know what? I want to be where I can be me. And guess what I do for a living now? I work with kids. I could not be happier. I make less money, but I'm richer. My life is richer because I'm doing what I love
Exactly.
doing. Yeah, I'm doing what I love doing. Material things are just that, material things. Can you take material things with you when your time is up on this earth? No. But the goodness that you can leave people can make
Yeah.
somebody else a better person. And so I think that's what a lot of people have to do. But man, I got to write that down. It's not what you have, it's who you want to be. Man, that's genius. Dr.
I
Jen
know
kept,
nobody wants to write on their headstone, oh, like he was making six figures. Like, that's not what you're going to put on your
no,
headstone. What do you want it to say
no,
on your headstone? You want it to say things like beloved wife or,
yeah.
will be
Uh,
missed.
yeah, will be missed. And it's like, hey, will be missed. And then down in PS, the first person in America to get a master's in underwater basket weaving. And they're like, oh my God, that's got to be Coach T. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, you're right. You want to be remembered for something. And then what are people going to say when they come to your funeral? What are they going to talk about? Man, he was rich. But guess what? Is that money in the casket with him or her? No, it's not. You can't take it with you. What can you take with you? You can take this heart, and that heart and soul. But what can you leave behind? The experiences that you've gone through, the goodness of the good things that you've done that other people have seen that they can replicate. That's what you can leave behind for them. And so I really applaud what you're doing, Dr. Jen. Now I do want people to know how they can get in contact with you, because you want people to contact you, right?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
You're pretty sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, I gotta ask. So, but Dr. Jen, you have a website, do you not?
I do have a website. So the best way to contact me is through my website. The website is www.readwriteperfect.com. And anybody who goes to that website, you'll see there are lots of buttons all over the different pages of the website that say book a back on track session or book a free session. So you can book a call with me there. It's usually about 30 minutes and we can talk through anything that's troubling you, really.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, I have two more questions for you. Is there anything in particular that you're working on that you could share with us, or are you just working with your clients right now? Do you have projects or anything like that?
Right now, I am just working with my clients. We're at the busy time of year. So I've got about 6 clients who need to finish their dissertations in the next month. So I am just round the clock
Yeah.
working with students.
And being a mom and a
And being a
wife.
mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah. That keeps you busy. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And my last question for you, Dr. Jen, if you can share with us the individual or individuals that have been most influential in your life and why.
There are so many, but when I was narrowing down for this question, I think I decided on my grandmother. Amazing woman. She had 8 kids, 9 kids. Grew up in Guyana, brought them all up on her own because my grandfather died young. I think he was a drinker. Not much use from what I remember. So she brought up all these kids on her own, got them out of Guyana, brought them to the United States. Worked multiple jobs to make sure they all got a good education. She was still going strong when I was a kid and babysitting all of the millions of grandkids from those children. She's still going strong. She's now 97, I believe. 98.
Wow.
I'm terrible at birthdays and years, but she is still going. And I think the last time she had a birthday, we counted up and the number of great grandchildren was above 100. And she still knows their names and she still knows their birthdays and remembers who to ask how they're doing. And so she's my role model. Everyone wants to be just like Nan.
Wow.
One
That's
tough
great.
cookie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? I love that, because somebody that's lived that long has seen so much, has so much to offer, and that's obviously why you're sharing that. So yeah, I really appreciate sharing that. Yeah, it's
appreciate the old.
Yeah. It's interesting. My great grandmother lived to be 106, I believe. Yeah, and still lived on her own and cooked for herself. I mean, everything. So yeah, I think there's a lot of respect for the generations that did so much for so long. We didn't have all of the I don't know what you want to call it, modern technology to make their lives easier. They did a lot of things the hard way. And so really appreciate
got
that.
on with it and enjoyed themselves. Like that's
Right.
like never not complaining about it. She's just, this was my life. It was great.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, she's not complaining about it, but everybody else do. If you were to sit a group of people down and talk and share everything, and have your grandmother sit there and talk about all the things that she's seen and what they've gone through, they'd go like, "Oh my God, I couldn't do that." Because, oh yeah, you could if
You could
you
if you
lived in
had
that
to.
thing. Yeah, if you had to, you absolutely could. So. Well, Dr. Jen, really do appreciate you taking time. And I do want to share that Dr. Jen and I had to reschedule our original time because we actually both had illnesses and she had to go through her family and I had to go to mine. But I really appreciate her taking the time to reschedule and wish you nothing but continued success with your dissertation business. And if you come across anybody that is thinking about the underwater basket weaving aspect, have them contact me first before they embark on that, because I'm here to tell you, I know how difficult it is. Okay, I know how difficult it is, and I've lived it like your grandmother. I have lived it. I know what I'm talking about. So, but before we go, I want to share with you all that I also co-host a podcast with my fellow youth empowerment coach Keith Senzer. We have a podcast called Teen Speak, Empowering Today's Youth, where we interview middle school, high school, and college students when they come on and share their challenges, but more importantly, the challenges that they've overcome, the challenges and strategies that they've used to overcome those challenges. And this podcast is for teens, about teens, and starring teens. So if you'd like to be a guest, or someone that would like to be a guest, there's a form on my website, CoachTsCorner.com. And Keith also has one on his website, which is ShiftYourPower.com. Go there, fill that out. We'll reach out to you, and we'd love to have you. Just remember, it's the next generation of leaders that we're all here for. So for me, Coach T, and Dr. Jen, we all say thank you. And Dr. Jen, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, and wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care. We will see you in our next episode. See you.
Does your son or daughter lack confidence, have low self-esteem, or just feel out of place? They don't have to anymore, because these are the kids that Coach T loves to work with, to help them and to support you, the parents. Go to CoachTsCorner.com to get started. Stay connected with Coach T and Coach T's Corner on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok.